Hi, my name is Susanne Svensdotter. Welcome to the Women in Aerospace series Space4Coffee. Today, our guest is Gitika Gorthi, who, despite being a busy student herself, is a founder of Ignited Thinkers, an organization working toward making space education available to more people. Hi, Gitika, and welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really my honor to kind of share a little bit more about myself and be a part of this amazing initiative.
Yeah, thank you. I thought I'll do some fun lightning question now,
Yes.
just to learn a bit more about you. So, tea or coffee?
Coffee,
Salt or sugar?
probably sugar,
Cats or dogs?
probably a dog. I'm actually allergic to both, a lot of furred animals in general, but I think dogs look cuter, so I'll go with dogs.
I find them really difficult to answer all those questions. So tell me about yourself.
I'm currently like a student, like you were saying. So I'm currently a high school senior in Northern Virginia, which is in the United States. And I'm a rising freshman at Columbia University, which is in New York. So I'm going through this transition of being done with high school and going to college. And so being a student, I'm sure as many know, it's very, it's like takes up most of your time, most of your day. And I'm an aspiring aerospace physician, medical researcher, and astronaut. So I'm very interested between the intersection between space and biology and how we can understand human body better with a different experiment environment, like in a microgravity environment in space. So Ignited Thinkers is a nonprofit I founded in the 8th grade to spread my love for space education to students across the world. And I can explain the story of what got me into finding Ignited Thinkers if you'd like a little bit later. But really, that takes up a lot of time extracurricular wise because I spend most of my evenings trying to record interviews like you're doing with other space professionals on YouTube, try conducting webinars, workshops, and, really just outreach and show people that space is an environment and industry for everyone.
Yeah, well, it sounds amazing. Did you always wanted to go into space?
Actually, no. Growing up, I didn't know space was honestly a real career. Both my parents are not in the space industry. They both are, my mom's in economics business, my dad's in IT, so computer science. And I didn't have anyone of my relatives who was in the space industry. So no, I never thought I would ever go into space. I didn't even think it was a real career. Growing up, I would always go to the Air and Space Museum, which is near my house, and be very excited about aliens and alien movies. But I always found it fascinating. I think every child finds it fascinating, but we never think of it as something you can actually study about or do when you grow older. So when I was younger, biology really stuck with me. When I was 12 or 13 years old, I joined a after school rocketry club. I was like, I don't know if I can build rockets. I don't even think I'm smart enough. But you know what? If you said to join, maybe I can do it. So I tried. And once I, got to the rocketry club, I fell in love with building model rockets. That summer, I applied for a free NASA summer program and I spent a week at NASA just talking with professionals, learning about the space program, and I just knew that this is where I wanted to work when I grew older. Both my parents were surprised in 8th grade when I told them that I want to go into space. They didn't think that this was just kind of a passion, but they didn't know there were so many opportunities in this industry because both of my parents are immigrants from India. And I was actually also born in India, but then I came here at a young age. My dad was saying, you're so lucky to have this rocketry club. Without it, you probably wouldn't have gotten into space. A lot of kids, I'm sure in many parts of America and India and Africa, Europe, very rural parts, don't have access to these clubs to inspire them. You're very fortunate, you're very lucky. And, that was like, it just clicked somewhere. And I was like, you're right. I was very lucky. That was the founding of Ignited Thinkers. And I wanted to bring this rocketry club middle school experience I had to every student out there. And I know that's a very large goal, but it's something that I totally will work hard to get and achieve to. And going into high school, I combined my passion for biology and space. And randomly one day on the internet, I searched up space medicine, not knowing it was a real career. And I found out it was a real career, and that was a big shock to me, but ever since then, I've been doing a lot of research experiences, internships, and just found out, like, this is what I wanna do, and I wanna go into space medicine. So it's a kind of a long story, but I never ever in a million years when I was younger would have thought I would have aimed to become an astronaut. I thought that wasn't a real career, but then it slowly started becoming a reality when I started figuring out the opportunities that exist in this industry.
That's amazing. Really, truly amazing. It's really luck to have the opportunity to decide your passion that young. So you've talked a lot about your how you started early and managed succeeded with lots of things. But did you meet any challenges by the way and on the way, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, I still think I have a very long way to go. But even just getting to this point of, figuring out what I want to do or starting out Ignited Thinkers as a nonprofit organization, it was difficult because I was only in eighth grade and I didn't know how the government stuff works. I didn't know who would believe in my idea. Both my parents are not in the industry, so I had absolutely zero connections. So this was like, it was just an idea, honestly. And it took a lot of reaching out. And I was a very introverted person in eighth grade when I had this idea and I had to talk to people and I had to share this idea I had and reach out. It was difficult for me. And also, I had to send out like 100 emails, the same email maybe to every single company I could find on the internet, but I only like one would respond, and even if one would respond, I would consider it a huge win. But to get to that one person to respond, it took a long time. And I was fortunate that STAR, Indian Rocketry Association, helped out with my first event, which was at a local orphanage in India, where I taught 75 kids how to build model rockets. And in that, to conduct that event, to take rockets, to have motors that were made in India to fit into the rockets that I'm bringing from the US, it definitely took a lot of work and a lot of like planning for a whole year, but it took a lot of persistence. And I know everyone says this, but it's so stereotypical, but also it's so true that if you have an idea, like, don't let go of it because it'll work out at some point of time. And for me, it took 2, 3 years to work out and to actually become an organization that's reaching out to a lot of students. But initially, I didn't know where to go. People wouldn't respond. I didn't know anybody, but I started using the tools that I did have instead of worrying about what I didn't have. There was social media, there was LinkedIn. It could connect you with someone who was way out of your league. I just tried to utilize every single resource I already had and kept reaching out. I confidently put myself out there and said, I was a founder of this nonprofit. It took a lot of fear to get over for me to be able to put myself out there, but I did it. And, I kept trying till someone accepted the idea. So I just didn't give up the idea that I did have.
That's really cool. And so what you mentioned a bit about skills, but what skills do you think that people would need to do something similar as you? And how important do you think these skills are for other similar topics?
I think everyone is different, but personally for me, I'm a very type A person. I would like to think, for those who don't know, a type A person is very organized, very, they have bullets, they know what they want to do, they're very organized and like task oriented. And type B people are more creative and open and expressive. And I'm not artistic at all, never claimed that. I'm not very good at art, but I think I think anybody can form an organization if they have a goal, a long-term goal, or a passion or true commitment to achieve something. My long-term goal is to help K through 12 students, and I have a long-term vision. And so these missions that I'm trying to do, these activities I'm trying to do, is towards this long-term, almost unachievable mission. So it helps me keep working. So if everybody has a passion or a long-term vision, I think anybody could do it. Nothing's impossible. But personally, I found being organized and being, to be able to communicate is so important, because if you keep everything to yourself, no one will know what your idea is or what's running through your head. There are so many people out there who are willing to help. You just need to tell and be vocal about it. So I think it's important to become a more extroverted person than you probably normally would be, because it's important to put yourself out there, especially when it's a new idea. It's also important to be organized, because when you're dealing with these big ideas, it's important to first have small steps to climb, to get there. And it's important to have that organization and timeline so that you don't get caught up in the small stuff. So I think those are important skills, but honestly, I think anybody could do it, even if they don't find themselves organized, if they have a passion and a drive for something.
Mm. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to start in aerospace?
Yeah, I think this is really an advice that I would give for anybody, aerospace or not. Take 100% of the shots, because if you don't, you'll make none of them. Even if you think that you're not qualified for the certain role, you're not qualified to talk with a certain person, or you're not qualified to apply for a certain job or be a part of a certain group, just try anyway, because the worst they can say is no. But what if you get it?
Cool, cool. I wanted to know a bit. I mean, you are an immigrant child to United States. Do you feel that that has an impact on your chances in education and for a future career? I mean, do you see a difference between sort of majority people and minorities?
Yeah, I think overall, America is really, as they say, it's like an American dream. You can like really achieve anything you'd like in America. But something that I have noticed is awareness. When you're an immigrant, it's you don't have awareness about a lot of the opportunities in America. And this is nothing against the country or anything. It's just lack of awareness, because if both my parents were educated in India and not educated in America, so when I was applying to college this year, for example, they didn't know how really anything worked, because their college process was very different. And not even college, just clubs you can be a part of, how education to become a doctor here works, or to go into aerospace medicine, to be a part of the industry. Everything is different. You don't have any relatives here, honestly, to really support you either. So it's a very different experience, because everything is new to you.
So do you have any idea of how you could change this, or how one could change this difference?
Yeah, I think there's already so many initiatives out there that are really supporting minority groups, which is really how I'm able to get all these resources as well. So I think we've already come a long way, which is why in America you can see so much diversity in, like the top government positions these days. There's a lot more change than probably 20, 30 years ago. And this is because of the work nonprofits are already doing. But I think we can still go a long way in increasing diversity and opportunities and equity overall. And it's going to take a lot of work. But
Mm.
I think the biggest thing is outreach. Outreach to not the mainstream, but the people who are not in the mainstream, uh, through social media. You reach out to the privileged, honestly. You don't reach out to people who have to work 24 hours really to just survive basic necessities. And, I'm fortunate to not have to be in that position, but I know there's a lot of families in that position. I think it's important to go to those communities, to talk with those families, show them the opportunities that exist, and figure out ways to bridge the gap in communication. I think communication is key, because everybody wants to succeed in life. It's just a matter of outreach. So I think it's just a matter of time before we get more people to invest in these types of programs. But I definitely think we've come a long way from 20 or 30 years ago.
That's a really interesting point of view. Thanks a lot. That concludes our interview. I'm really happy to have spoken to you. You are really an encouragement to younger people to enter into space.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to talk about my story. I always say it's important to start young. And one thing I'd like to leave everybody with is remember that if I could do it, and I'm only just 18, but I started at 13, then you guys can do it as well, regardless of what age you are, whether it be you're 8 years old or all the way you're 60 or 70. Like, it's never too early or too late to start something. Just follow your passions. So thank you so
Great.
much for this opportunity.